from chapter 26 of a novel in progress, Dempsey's Diner. The chapter is entitled Dawn's Promising Skies. Dawn's promising skies, petals on a pool, drifting. And as the sky lightens a bit, I can tell that outside of the waterfalls section, the horizon outline of the quarry is of trees, of the woods that surround us all. And across from us, about a quarter-mile of quarry water away, stands the highest cliff at the quarry. The trees come right up to the very edge of it, as if it had been cleaved, trees and cliff alike, by some giant meat cleaver. The tall fir trees coming so tightly close to the highest cliff's edge, and the highest cliff's edge being so upright that it seems like a giant hairline, a hideous crew cut, long overdue for a trim. Not that the highest cliff looks like a face, although it does jut out a ways. It has width and breadth so enormous that it makes all other cliffs look sorry by comparison. It is so expansive, I'd say that it would take at least half a dozen cliffs like the one I now stand on to match up to it. Its massiveness cannot be matched, and neither can its height. Hell, I'd say it rises 500 feet above the quarry water. All the other cliffs on both sides of it merely lead up to it. They are nothing compared to the highest cliff. To the left, the cliffs get smaller as they trickle down to the unstable waterfalls area, the walk-in part, as Harpo calls it. And to the right of it, the cliffs dwindle in size down to the relatively small cliff that we now stand on, but not so drastically as cliffs diminish into the waterfalls. And when it gets a little bit brighter out, I can see the road that the divers have to come up before doing their grand dives at the quarry, showing their skill and their bravery for all the quarry to see as they dove off like Elvis Presley in Fun in Acapulco. The only difference being that when they re-emerged from the water, their hair was flattened down wet, unlike Elvis in the movies, who could emerge out of the water from a dive like that with his pompadour intact. Some of the divers dove off and drowned, and some didn't drown but decided to climb up the face of the highest cliff and got helplessly stuck on the loose dirt. Maybe they just got scared by looking up and seeing how much more they had to scale, and they cried for help, and somebody had to go for help. And so a rescue truck came with the crew, and right behind them, the cops, and the rescue truck rescued them all right, and the cops busted them for trespassing. And of course it made the papers, pictures and all, editorials too. And it just put a lot more heat on the quarry for a while, although not as much as the actual drownings did. The road that leads up to the highest cliff, that's where so many stolen cars were pushed off, down to the depths of the quarry waters to join the abandoned quarrymen's cranes. That's the road that the greasers use for their chicken runs, just like James Dean. They race their beat-up hot rods to the edge of the highest cliff, just like James Dean. And the first one to jump out was Chicken, not like James Dean. And some brave greasers went right over the edge and dropped down into the black depths of the quarry waters, into the submerged wreckage of cranes and stolen cars, and then they were dead, just like James Dean. And now I know that the missing section of trees in the hideous, untrimmed, crew-cut horizon of the highest cliff is the Chicken Run Road. And it seems like a bizarre part in this hairline horizon. And the highest cliff does seem like a face to me now. Not that it has any facial features. It doesn't. But it has the presence of a face, like a melted wax figure's head might look like, or some crudely sculpted clay head bust uncompleted. And the closer the sun comes to rising, the more colors emerge on the face of the highest cliff. Oranges and browns and yellow ochres and tans and reds and rust reds, like the color of Panamanian boo. Bright colors and dull ones too, scattered patches of grass here and there, and even a few little trees spring up at ridiculous angles, suspended out like a diver ready to dive. And in some parts, I find that there's some fairly big regular trees growing out so strongly amid the barren rocks that seems downright unnatural. And there are still crevices and maybe little caves, as I soon begin to realize that the sun probably will not brighten even when it does rise. And yet, the coming brightness of the unseen sun continues to bring out all these colors. And all this time, I never move from where I stand. I stand at the edge and wait for the sun, and I never turn around. Once in a while, I glance down at Harpo below me, but I never turn around. If I would have, I would have seen him and what he was holding in his hand, but I never turn around. Although I can tell from looking out the corner of my eye that there is someone standing to the right of me and behind me. And at first I think it's Bo. And then later I turn my eyeball again and I realize that it's not Bo, but someone shorter and stouter than Bo. someone I figure from our fire, who just wants to stand up on the cliff too and watch for the sun. That's it. Just someone from our fire, or maybe a visitor who just happened by. I never turn around to see who he is or what he's holding because I'm glued, waiting for the day. Then, at the crack of dawn, at the instant the sun makes its appearance, bam, 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 bam. From behind my head, I can see sparks blast out of the shotgun, all white and yellow with energy against the last fading blue of the western sky behind us all. I can see all this white and yellow bursting forth as I turn my head to finally face him, fast, as you would react to anyone who just came close to killing you. And he rests his shotgun up on his shoulder, and he winks at me, and he says, "Good morning."